This tutorial we'll talk about how to create Model 395, the model and the drawing using Fusion 360. So we'll go over here to our Fusion 360 workspace. I want to make sure that our Z-axis is pointing upwards. You can do that by clicking on your preferences. You're looking for the default modeling orientation. You want that to be Z up. If it's not, select that and then hit apply. Next thing we want to do is make sure we start out by saving this. I'll call this Model 395 tutorial. Make sure that you're saving it in the correct folder, the correct trimester and year, and the correct class. So when we look at the PDF drawing over here, we look at the three different views. We're going to pick one of these to start with. We can either draw the base and do the base first and then kind of draw the side, or we can kind of draw the side and then do the base. Starting with this view would be next to impossible to try to draw this and extrude this way through the model. So we'll kind of start with the base and work our way ground up. So we've got one save already. Going to go ahead and create a sketch on this top plane. We can see that on this kind of diamond shape, the corners are rounded. We see that it's got, if there's a vertical axis, it's got symmetry on the right and left of the vertical axis. If there's a horizontal axis going through there, symmetric above and below that. So we'll make our origin at the center. To keep everything lined up, I'll go ahead and draw a vertical line, make sure it snaps to. Let me escape out of that real quick. Draw a vertical line, click to place the first point, make sure it snaps vertically to that green line. We'll hit the check mark. We'll do another horizontal line. Okay. I'll hit the escape to get out of the line tool. And you can see that I can move these lines around and they're going to stay horizontal or vertical. What I want to do is make sure that these are lined up at the midpoints. So I'll come down to the midpoint constraint. Say I want these two to be connected at their midpoints. And you can see that symbol. So now if I drag these, you can see that it makes it smaller or bigger, but it does so at the midpoints of the lines. Next thing I'm going to do is put this vertex on the origin. So I'm going to create a point. Make sure it snaps to the intersection of those two lines. Oops. I want to create a point at the intersection of those two lines. And then I want to do the coincident constraint. Make the intersection of these two lines is coincident with the origin. And when I do that, those lines turn black. It means that they're fully constrained. I'll use the escape key to get out of that tool. I can see that all these corners are rounded. This says that the top and bottom are a radius 12 circle. The left and right are a radius 22. So I'll come in here and start drawing some circles. Actually, I'm going to change my dimensions to millimeters since my drawing is in millimeters. So this circle, if it's got a 12 radius, that means it's going to have a 24 diameter. And I could mirror this, but I think it's just as quick to draw in another 24-inch circle. These have a radius of 22, which means the diameter is going to be 44. So pretty quickly we can get those circles drawn in. Next thing I need to know is to find out the size of these lines, how far apart these need to be. So we'll take a look on this horizontal axis. We can see that the centers of the circle are 120 millimeters apart. So we use the dimension tool and specify 120. To figure out how apart these circles are, we can look at the side view. It says from end to end from this end to this end is 144, but I need to know the length of this line. So from here to here is 144. I just need to subtract off this radius and subtract off this radius. So this radius is 12, this radius is 12. So I'm going to subtract off 24 from that 124, and I can determine that the length of this line is 100 millimeters. So now we can go in, grab our line tool, and we'll go ahead and connect these. You can slide around the circle until the tangent constraint pops up. On the one side, you'll just have to kind of guess. And then the next side, slide around till the tangent constraint comes up. And then we'll go back at the end and make sure that those other ones are tangent as well. You can see everything's enclosed. It turns the blue color. So I'll say this line and this circle. You can see the tangent constraint. This circle and this line, tangent constraint. This circle and this line, tangent, and then this circle and this line. And once again, when everything turns black, that lets you know that you've got everything constrained. There's no dimensions that are variable. So now we'll go ahead and start doing these smaller circles with those straight lines. I can see my first circle has a diameter of 12 millimeters. So we'll put that in. This bigger circle, you can tell that the height of the lines is 22. So that's also the diameter of that circle. So I'll do another one, another circle that's 22 millimeters. And I'm going to draw these lines in. Instead of trying to get the top of the circle and getting it wrong, I'll just do it where the line is horizontal. I can see those, the horizontal and the parallel constraints, that both lines are horizontal. And then I'll use the tangent constraint to make sure that it's tangent. Rather than trying to draw on it and getting it wrong, I'll draw it purposely a little bit off and then use the constraints to lock it in exactly where I need to. So this time, since I got several pieces of geometry in there that I want to copy, I'll go ahead and use the mirror tool. I can go ahead and select that top line and the bottom line and this big circle and little circle. And then for my mirror line, I'll do this vertical line right in the middle. And you can see the items previewed over there, and when I hit OK, they get drawn in. So this should be all the sketching I need to do on the bottom part. So we'll go ahead and say Finish Sketch. Take this back to the isometric view. Go ahead and save this. We'll call this Sketch 1. And then we'll come here and extrude. I like to extrude the tallest parts first. Oops. So let me close out of that. Okay, so I can see that when I highlight this area, that this whole thing highlights, and that's not what I want. So let me go back and just double check that sketch. Make sure that there's nothing wrong with it. It should be. So if I zoom in, you can see that that line's not connected. So let me come over here, zoom in. You can see it added an extra line. I'm not sure how I managed to do that, but we'll go ahead and delete that line. I'm going to click on that tangent constraint and delete that as well. And then I'm just going to move this line. We'll just delete that too. When in doubt, we'll just draw another one. Connect there. Make sure it attaches this time. We'll hit the tangent constraint again. Draw it. There we go. Come over here. This line is also broken. So let's go ahead and delete that one. Make sure it snaps to the circle. Doesn't seem to want to snap to that circle. Let me start on this circle and go out horizontal. I'm leaving little line segments everywhere. I'm not sure why that's happening. One more time, we'll try the line command. Snaps there, out horizontal, and snaps there. And then we use the tangent constraint to draw that in. Okay, so now we'll come back to finish sketch. Go back to the isometric view, and we'll try the extrude again. And those are the parts that I want. I can look on the model and see that those are 30 millimeters tall. When you use the extrude command, the sketch turns off, so I'll just turn it back on. My second extrude is all the other profiles. Make sure that you grab all of them. And I can see on the drawing right here that that distance is 15 millimeters. So now I can turn the sketch off, and we've got the base view of our model. The next we want to do is this sketch. So we'll start a new sketch, and we'll select this plane. Once again, I can draw the circles fairly easily, so we'll start with that. Make sure I'm snapped to that green vertical line. One circle has got a diameter of 28. The other circle has a diameter of 46. You can move those around wherever you need to so they're visible. The drawing tells me that from the center of the circle to the base is 67 millimeters. I want to draw in these lines from here down to the base, and it's not doing a good job of snapping to the base because there's no lines right there. So what I want to do is I'm going to come in here to create a project, and I want to project the intersection of where my sketch plane intersects this body. So I'm going to select the body filter, click on here, and it tells me that that purple line is going to be put into my sketch. So now with that purple line right on the top, if I go back and look at my sketch plane, whenever I use the line command to connect the circle down to here, it's going to snap to that point. I want to do the other side. You can see it encloses. So I want to make sure, once again, that this line is tangent with the circle. And this line is tangent with the circle as well. I can see on the drawing that the distance is 88 millimeters. So from this dot to that dot is 88. And that looks good, but these are still movable. I can still kind of slide this side to side. So it's not completely balanced yet. So the next thing I want to do, add one more dimension from this dot to this dot to make sure it's even. Let me escape out of that. Try it again. From this dot to this dot, I want that distance to be 44. I want it to be exactly halfway, so it's nice in the middle. And that should be enough information for that side sketch. So we'll finish that. Come back to our isometric view. Once again, I'd like to do the large extrusion first. It says it's 32 millimeters. So we're going to do symmetric. We're going to sketch on extrude on both sides of that plane. It can either be the half length. The sketch tells me the whole length is 32. So I'll just select whole length and type in 32. Once I extrude, the sketch goes away, but I can just turn it back on. And then I'm going to extrude the rest of it. It will also be symmetric. And my sketch tells me that that's 12 millimeters thick. So half at 12. You can do it either way, whatever makes you happy. I'll turn the sketch off. The last thing I need to do is where this kind of smooths in to the base. That's going to be a fillet. So I can select this line where it intersects the base. And I can select that line back there where it intersects the base. And that's the drawing right here says that that's a 6 millimeter fillet. So we'll type in 6 millimeters. So that's the model. I kind of got behind on my saves, so we'll do that. You have to make sure that you have 6 saves. If I were to try to turn this in, this would not be acceptable. I would get this returned back to me, and I'd have to start over from the beginning and make sure I had 6 saves. So usually after every sketch and after every extrusion, go ahead and make a save. So you hit the minimum 6 saves. I'm going to go ahead and hit the A on my keyboard to bring up the appearance command. Right now, bodies and components is selected. So we'll just pick a nice green paint color. We'll make this thing green, like the sketch. But you can see there's a little silver inside of there, almost as if they had drilled through that, and that's the shiny metal. So we can pick not just paint colors, but we can pick metal. And let's go ahead. We'll go with aluminum. We'll do a nice polished aluminum. So I'm going to grab this. And instead of, let me leave it in there. Instead of doing the whole body for components, now I just want to do the face. So I'll go polished aluminum. I'm going to put it inside of there, and that's going to make that face that nice shiny color. We'll grab and do that hole as well, and drag that over there as well. Only takes a few seconds to make it look nice, so we'll go ahead and take the time to do that. So I can save this again with the colors. I'm at the 4 saves, so I'm 2 saves short. So make sure that when you're saving this, you save evenly spaced throughout your model. Next thing we'll do is from here we'll create a drawing. You can go ahead and just accept all of these standards, ISO and millimeters, in the A3 sheet. We want to make our drawing look like this PDF. So it pulls up, it's going to give us a base view, which is kind of this side view. So we'll stick it right here and say OK. You want to try to use projected views when you can. It's going to ask me to select a parent view, which will be this. This keeps everything, you can kind of see the dotted line, it keeps everything lined up nice and organized, but it's showing me the bottom instead of the top. So let's see if I can place that there. Place my isometric view, and then place my side view, and we'll hit the check mark. This one I want to be shaded. Okay, and I was hoping I could come in here and select the view that I wanted. It's not going to let me do that, so I'm actually just going to delete those, and instead of doing the projected view, I'll just put in base views, and I'll pick that I want this to be the top view. I'm going to try to line it up as close as I can to where I want it. Put in another base view over here. And this will be my isometric. So I'll select the northeast view. I want to make sure that one's shaded. Put that one up there. And then another base view. This one will be the right side. Just like that. Okay. So it's pretty standard to go in here, put in the dimensions. The one thing that's going to be tricky is on the PDF, you can see that there are little extension lines drawn where that fillet used to be, where the fillet is, where the line used to come through. That since the fillet's in there, that line doesn't connect anymore. So to get that, there's a function up here that says edge extension. So I'm going to select this edge. And if you try to select the edge right below it, it won't work. You have to select one that's a little bit farther away, but then it goes ahead and extends those where they intersect. And then once again, we'll select this one and one a little bit away, and it makes those intersection lines. So I'll escape out of the extend edge extension tool. Now when I try to put the dimensions in there, I want to set this to 88 millimeters. And sometimes I get lucky and I kind of grab that intersection where it's the X, but more often than not, as I'm trying to get in here, it's not going to select that. So I need to right click and select intersection, and then it's only going to select the intersection, so it'll be easy to snap there. And when I come over here, I have to do the same thing. It's hard to grab the intersection, so I'll right click, select intersection, and then it'll snap. So now I can place the 88 millimeters, and you can continue through with the dimension tool and keep on placing the rest of the dimensions. Make sure you go ahead and save that. And if you need the PDF, you can use the PDF tool here to save this as a PDF. But make sure you put in the rest of the dimensions as indicated on this drawing. Thank you.